You're not to know you're walking into a gunfire and bullets being flying around. So it made every firm take one with them after that shotgun. For instance, if we had a shotgun that day, we would have got the prize, we would have got the money. You know, if we let a couple go, then that might have put their heads down and thought twice about shooting us. You know, you don't take it for show. You know, if you have to use it, you've got to use it. Not deliberately to kill anyone, but of course, once you pull the trigger, you never know what's going to happen. So, you know, but we were prepared to use them. It seemed to change the whole scene, the London scene, and it didn't deter people from going out. It was a turning point, really. But that was one of the things sort of elevated you, or without even talking about it or bragging about it. That elevated the firm up a few steps.
On December the 17th, 1964, armed robber Jimmy Evans and his associate Tommy Marks came to these flats and knocked the door of number 12. Freddie Foreman's brother George answered the door. There was a loud explosion and a shotgun blast propelled him back down the hallway. According to Jimmy Evans, he'd been having sex with his wife.
If anyone was messing around with my wife at the time, I would have probably done the same thing as what happened. George was a bit lethargic, you know, where women were concerned, and also the fact that we had the walk-in club, and on a Friday night you'd get 6 or 7 girls coming all on their own, you know, and they're having a good time and a laugh and a joke and a drink, and they were sort of up for it, if you know what I mean. Unbeknown to me, he had really struck up this strong relationship with this girl, and she was married to someone else who was out at the West End, but he didn't know George. He might have known George, but he didn't know the relationship between him and me, I don't think, or he couldn't have done at the time, because if he had known, he wouldn't have done what he did. And the Ginger Marks guy who took him over there, he should have known better. But the two of them were out thieves and doing little bit petty, you know, really. They weren't doing like a few fires and things like that, and a few burglaries, and it's supposed to have been blowing safes and that, but I don't know anyone who could blow a fucking safe. There's a load of, and they used to blow the building down more than blow the safes out. And there was burning them open. That was different. We used to do that properly and do it proper. But they couldn't. They, for some reason or other, they found out about it, and I didn't know anything that was going on. All I knew was someone come round to me and got the message that George was in hospital, in St Thomas's Hospital, and someone had shot him on his doorstep while he was having a meal with his wife and kids. Ginger knocked at the door. He went and answered the door, and then he asked for a Moody address. He said, I didn't know who it was, and he shut the door, and he went back to sit down and have something to eat. And then another knock on the door. He goes and answers the door again, and all the light had been taken out outside on the landing, and it's all pitch black. And then someone stepped out of the shadows with a shotgun and blasted him in the lower area, caught him in the top of the leg, and he hit the passage at the end of the passage, and. Next thing you know, he's in hospital with a big hole in his leg, and at point blank range, you see. If it'd been back a bit further, the shot it would have spread out and it would have done more damage. And to his personal part, he was lucky in that respect. And of course, I'll go to the hospital, and the police stay on the bed, and they went and had a cigarette, and now I'm talking with it, and he just whispered Ginger Tom, and that's the only name I had. It wasn't Marks I was really wanted at the time, it was the other fella who shot my brother, but they were both as guilty as each other, because, you know, they was conspirators, and they both knocked on the door at the same time, and the Ginger Marks, they was the two people who did it, yeah. But you see, my brother never gave evidence against them, though he knew it was them. When he was laying in hospital, he had 3 operations. They were going to cut his leg off at the top from the hip down. I mean, it was touch and go. It was just before Christmas as well. So they couldn't get an anaesthetist to do the deep amputation of the leg. Otherwise, they were going to do it this night, and by the next day, they managed to stem the blood flow, in his artery in his leg. So they never took his leg off. Otherwise, they would have done. But this was the condition he was in, you see. So naturally, I was a bit angry about that, and I had to retaliate. Well, all London knows that if anything happened to my brother, what I'm going to do. I'm not going to just sit back and let it go. So they was waiting for the response, or everyone in London, in the so-called London world, was waiting to see what was going to happen. Well, the twins knew everyone in the East End, and so when I went to see the twins, they told me who Ginger Tom was, and so that was Tommy Marks. And that's how I came to find. Then I found out through that who the other fellow was.
To assist Foreman in his hunt for the gunman, the Crays arranged to meet Evans in an East End nightclub, where a seemingly innocent photograph was taken. This was then given to Foreman to help him identify his brother's would-be assassin.
17 days after George Foreman had been shot, Jimmy Evans and 3 other men arrived here in Redmonds Road, where Tommy Marks lived. It was around midnight when they knocked his door, and his wife Anne answered the door. She led him into a back room where they started talking to Marks, and she went into the kitchen. She was quite concerned because she was 3 months pregnant with Tommy's 3rd child, and she didn't want him getting in any trouble. When they came out the room, she had a feeling that something wasn't right, and Tommy said that he was going to go out for an hour. She pleaded with him not to go, but he was insistent that he had to go. Just before he left, he said he loved her and closed the door. She never saw her husband Tommy Marks ever again.
It took a month or so to track it all down, but they was going to sell their jewellery to a certain person when they was going on the robbery, and they told me that when they was going to work the night before and they was going to buy the jewellery, what they got off the robbery. So that's how I come to know where they was going to be that particular night, you see. So I just plotted up there and waited for them.
Approximately an hour after he'd left his flat, Evans and Marks came walking along this road towards the Carpenter's Arms. Foreman Gerard and 2 other members of their firm were coming in the opposite direction in a van. They saw Ginger Marks and Evans pulled up next to him, and it is alleged that they shouted Ginge. Some people say this referred to Ginger Marks, others say that they meant to call out Jimmy to Jimmy Evans. But whichever version is right, one of them leaned towards the van, and Foreman and the others opened fire. Approximately 5 shots were fired. Marks fell to the floor, and Jimmy Evans ran around the corner and hid underneath the vehicle. Whilst he's making good his escape, members of Foreman's firm got out of the vehicle. Marks was still alive. They dragged him into the vehicle, and he was never seen again.
This guy ran straight round to the twins' house, which is the next turning, and they didn't want to know him. They said, if you've had a row with Foreman, you can better fuck, we can't help you. He's our pal, you better fuck off, it's your problem, not ours. And they wouldn't help him, though he did know them well, and they knew him. And they knew the Ginger fellow, because they had card dealings with him. He used to sell cars for them and that, He was part of their firm at one stage,
The only thing left at the scene was Tommy Marks' gutters and a pool of blood. A senior member of Foreman's firm disposed of the body, but he has never disclosed the whereabouts or the method he used. Although there have been, of course, many theories.
They used to have a pole. We had couple of breakers yards. You had one over the wall. Oh, that's right. And you had one at Dartford. He used to break lorries up, smelt heavy, and he had a big aluminium smelt. And what he used to do, he used to have an old chest freezer. He used to put them in there, freeze them up. Then he'd cut them up and put them in the smelt. And if there's any bones left, we used to crush them all up and then go and throw them in the river. And that's how we disposed of the body.
When the Crays heard about the incident, they were extremely impressed, because back in the 60s, no body meant no crime, This was, the Crays believed, an opportunity for Foreman to repay his debts to them, and an opportunity for them to commit murder without fear of being caught. The very thought of being free to murder at will coursed through schizophrenic Ronnie Cray's veins. Nobody was now safe, and the Crays, backed up with Foreman's muscle and body disposal facility, believed that